Welcome to the fifth interview of DataChannel. Today I have with me Mr. Edwin Sarimento, MVP and MCM from Philippines, working in US. So I'm very proud to have him on DataChannel. Today we will be discussing always on availability groups. He's a well-known HA expert. Very happy to have him on DataChannel. Thanks a lot. How are you, Edwin?
I'm good. Thanks a lot for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. So today, by the way, we are shooting in Sydney for SQL Server Sydney. So how is Sydney treating you?
It's good. I got lost a couple of times. It's me being me. I took the train, took the bus, got lost.
Oh.
But I love the place. I can't complain.
Okay. Shall we get started?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, always on availability groups. So for our viewers, can you just give us an overview of what it is?
Great question. I don't like using the word always on.
Okay.
And so it's a marketing term. In fact, somebody sent me an email today about, asked the same question, so it's always on. And every time somebody asks me that question, I try not to focus on always on because it's a marketing term. And people get confused. So when customers ask, so what's always on? Always on is a marketing term for both failover clustered instances and availability groups. So when somebody asks, so what's always on? My brain just spins because I don't know exactly what you're talking about. So when you're talking about the always on umbrella, right? Again, the marketing term behind that, you think about failover clustered instances, which is your single server, multiple cluster nodes, single instance, single copy of the database. Now, always on availability groups in that aspect is a group of SQL Server instances that are running on top of Windows Server failover cluster. And then you can come up with like multiple copies of the database all being a part of a single availability group. That is a high-level description of what availability groups are all about.
Okay. How do we differentiate this from mirroring whatever that was been there since 2005? Yeah.
Great question. I almost got into trouble with Microsoft a couple of years back when I told customers that availability groups is not really new. And when you think about it, the underlying principles behind what makes availability groups work is similar to what made database mirroring work. Now, in the good old days of database mirroring, SQL Server was responsible for failure detection, health detection, automatic failover and whatnot. But the SQL Server product team realized that, well, there's already a product team from within Microsoft who's really good at that. And so they leveraged the Windows Server failover clustering infrastructure and built database mirroring on top of Windows Server failover clustering, which is why I tell my customers it's really nothing new. If you understand how Windows Server failover clustering works, and you understand how database mirroring works, it's just like running database mirroring on top of Windows Server failover clustering.
So probably we can just say it's a sandwich of mirroring plus clustering.
Yes, but the Microsoft marketing guys don't know.
Okay, interesting to say that. So is there any aspect where it is better than mirroring, something that mirroring can't do, that AG does?
Well, for one, with database mirroring, you only have maximum 2 copies of the database. So you got your principal and you got your mirror. Availability groups allow you to have more than 2 copies of the database, depending on the version of SQL Server you're using. So if you're running SQL Server 2014, you have the ability to have 1 primary and 4 secondaries. So that's a total of 5 copies. Now, if you're running SQL Server 2016, you have, and 14 higher. 2012 is 1 primary and 4 secondary. 2014 and higher gives you the capability of running 1 primary and 8 secondaries. Now, most customers would think, why would I need that? There are certain business requirements. I need to meet some compliance requirements for having multiple copies of the same database in different locations for disaster recovery, business continuity, any of these options and any of these requirements. Now, database mirroring, the only way you could move beyond the 2 copies of the same database is, well, have log shipping.
Okay.
Right? So you can have multiple secondary log shipping secondaries, but you can only have 1 mirror. The big difference is with log shipping, you're taking physical log backups, copying it onto a secondary server, and restoring it. You don't have to do that with availability groups and database mirroring, because this is the log records being sent directly to, in this case, to secondaries for availability groups. Makes it a lot faster when you talk about the log transport. Plus, in later versions of SQL Server, where the log transport is compressed, which means it's a lot faster for the primary to send the log records to the secondaries.
Interesting, you were narrating the differences between mirroring and availability groups. So another thing, while we are discussing, another question that pops up to the mind is regarding the topologies and how you would compare it against failover clustering. Whether you want to have an FCI or whether you want to have multiple primaries and multiple secondaries.
That is a very interesting question, which unfortunately there is no technical answer to it. And the reason I say that is because designing and implementing an architecture will always depend on what the business needs. And which is kind of interesting. Every time I navigate answering that question from a business point of view, a lot of people hate me for it. And my rationale behind that is technology only exists to solve business problems. So when people argue between failover clustered instances and availability groups, they're really not answering the main question of, so what's the business objective that we're trying to solve? Now, of course, in a typical sense, you're looking at recovery objectives, service level agreements, and budget. Three common parameters that have to be addressed, because you don't want to be designing an architecture or topology that would be so complex yet so expensive. While it does meet your business requirement, you certainly don't want to be bankrupting the company. On the flip side, you also don't want to be skimping on and shortchanging how much you're spending for a specific solution. So you need to strike a balance between meeting the business requirements and not spending too much. I kind of use the analogy of, I'm not going to buy a Ferrari to go to the supermarket. A Prius, true. Right? Now, going back to your question about the difference between failover clustered instances and availability groups, it's all about what your goals are. Now, availability groups will always fail over faster, just because of the very nature of how it works. With failover clustered instances, you have one copy of the database. So you're moving that copy of the database between cluster nodes. And what happens in the background is you're basically running crash recovery. What do you mean? You're stopping SQL Server from the active node, waiting, and I kind of use the traffic light analogy. You're stopping it. You're waiting until any of the available standby servers or standby nodes are available, moves it to any of those standby available, whichever the node is available, and then you start it. The fact that you're stopping the service and restarting the service on a different node is crash recovery. And when you look at crash recovery from a recoverability point of view, not from a performance point of view, but from a recoverability point of view, you're actually asking SQL Server to do two things. One, run the undo phase, rather the redo phase, right? Crash recovery will run the redo phase. This is running all committed transactions that have been persisted in your transaction log. And then after the redo phase is complete, the undo phase is a process where all the uncommitted transactions are undone. Now, in an availability group, and this is one of the reasons why availability group is a lot faster when it comes to failover, is that in the background, the SQL Server is sending transaction log records on the standby or the secondaries. It's already running the redo phase as separate thread on all of the secondaries, which means if you kind of look at it, a process that involves two phases, the redo and undo, versus a process that only involves one phase, if it's 50-50, right, availability of failover is still a lot faster. Now, going back to the topology, again, will always be dependent on what the business requirements are.
Okay.
And how much you're willing to pay for it.
So I understand that when it comes to speed or RTO, so we would AG wins it, availability group wins it. So when it comes to the budget, probably, what's your take on that?
Great question. I love saving my customers money. Availability groups, when it was introduced in SQL Server 2012, required that you need Enterprise Edition license.
Okay.
Not so with SQL Server 2016. The argument against that is with failover clustered instance, I can use Standard Edition.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, that's a good question I ask my customers is that what Enterprise Edition features are you actually using apart from availability groups? Because if all you're thinking about is moving to Enterprise Edition just because of availability groups, you're probably not maximizing the value for it. But if you think about it, if my entire SQL Server instance doesn't really use Enterprise Edition, plus of course with SQL Server 2016 Service Pack 1,
Yeah.
right, I have a lot of these so-called Enterprise Edition now available in Standard Edition. It makes failover clustered instance a cost-effective solution. And why do I say that? Because storage is cheaper nowadays compared to hardcore licensing.
Is there data redundancy? Does that play a factor in making this decision?
Absolutely.
AG versus FCI.
Absolutely. When you think about it, failover clustered instances I mentioned earlier will only have a single copy of the database.
Okay.
Now, if that's good enough for you, there's no reason for you to move to availability. Now, for companies who need to have more than one copy of the database, then availability is the way to go. Now, I did say earlier that you have to go back to what the business requirements really need. Do they want another copy of the database instantaneously being updated from a production copy? Or do they want just an extra copy out of nowhere, maybe just for backup purposes?
Okay.
Because if that's the case, you can use failover clustered instances with Standard Edition for local HA,
Okay.
an extra copy using log shipping,
Log shipping. Okay.
right?
So it depends again, as coming back to the same point, it depends on the
Yes.
business objective, what they want to do. Agreed. So interesting you brought SQL 2016.
Mhm.
Now availability groups are made available for standard edition.
Yes.
So some people, I believe they call it bags, basic availability groups, right? So what's your take on it? What are the things that one should know? What is bag in particular?
I usually, here's the thing, I love listening, I love finding the story behind the story. I always ask questions about, so why did they come up with this? What's the reason behind this? The reason behind introducing basic availability groups is that customers, ever since SQL Server 2012, have been looking for a direct replacement to database mirroring. When you think about it, database mirroring, you can run it on Standard Edition, you can have a synchronous copy of the database, and you have two copies of the database. But we don't have that in Enterprise in 2012 and 2015, right? Your only option is to move to Enterprise Edition and take advantage of availability groups, right? And so customers are looking for that. 2012 gave you, rather 2016, gave you the option to do basic availability groups, where it's relatively better than database mirroring because you have listener names,
Okay.
right? You can create a listener name for your availability groups in Standard Edition. You can do asynchronous
Yeah, which you are.
in Standard Edition for database mirroring.
Absolutely.
And so those two things are good enough reasons for customers to move away from database mirroring. And again, keep in mind that starting with SQL Server 2012, database mirroring has been deprecated.
Yeah.
Of course, the marketing and the licensing people hate me for this. Deprecated doesn't mean unsupported,
Yeah.
right? If you're still running database mirroring today, you pick up the phone and call Microsoft. They're not going to say, we can't help you, right? Deprecated is not the same as unsupported. So between SQL 2012 and SQL 2014, because there was no direct replacement for database mirroring, all I'm simply telling my customers, let's still use database mirroring. It makes sense. From a cost perspective, right? Your engineers are not going to need additional training for learning database mirroring. You're not going to need additional licensing. Well, it depends on what type of licensing you had when you were in 2005 or 2008, but bear with me for a second. you don't need to upgrade to Enterprise Edition, which means
Yeah.
you can still use it,
Yes.
right? Again, with basic availability groups, you can have one database inside an availability group with a listener name and an asynchronous replication option for the secondary. You can only have one secondary replica for basic availability groups, in contrast with Enterprise Edition where you have many, right? The problem with that is, number one, the complexity behind running availability groups if you're coming from database mirroring. Because now you have to worry about Windows Server Failover clustering. You have to worry about Active Directory. You have to worry about DNS. You have to worry about networking. So there, from a technical point of view, Microsoft might claim that there is a one-to-one mapping between database mirroring and basic availability groups. As far as I'm concerned, the team might not be ready for it. So this is where learning and retraining comes in, because you're not just dealing with databases here, you're dealing with outside or external dependencies. And I kind of use the phrase, well, good luck, because your job is now dependent on the things that you're not even aware are dependent on, right? Your next job promotion is now dependent on the Active Directory guy.
True.
Right? If you could sleep well tomorrow night is now dependent on the DNS guy.
True.
Right?
True.
And you now need to learn how to work with Windows Server Failover clustering just because.
True.
And I'm just scratching the surface here.
So interesting. Again, just to continue. So do you think people are going to adapt? What's the people's reaction from what you are saying? Are they going to adapt AGs on standard edition?
They will, again, from a cost perspective, because people think of, and this is, again, something that I tell my customers, don't just look at total cost of ownership in terms of licensing and upfront costs when you're trying to acquire IT assets. Because you're just seeing half of the picture. The other half of the picture is the total cost of operations. So TCO now should be DCOO, total cost of ownership and total cost of operation. Sure, there's a one-to-one mapping between database mirroring and availability groups, and everybody would jump into that without realizing, oops, I now need to have skilled engineers.
True.
I now need to be able to make sure that the entire team knows exactly what those dependencies are. Because when somebody picks up the phone and says my database is down, and the database guy does not know that it's an Active Directory problem,
True.
how does he escalate?
It becomes even more trickier if you don't know.
Exactly.
You are dependent on so many other things. Absolutely.
Which impacts your recovery objective,
Yes.
your SLAs, right? And from the point of view of the database guy, he starts thinking about, I thought this was a one-to-one mapping between database mirroring and availability, because now I have to worry about a lot of these, and it becomes overwhelming from an operations point.
Interesting. You have brought about many other things outside technology too, which people need to think
Oh, absolutely.
when they are adapting to always-on availability groups. Interesting. So, one final question before we kind of wrap up this interview.
Mhm.
Like, what are the features that you would like to see moving forward in availability groups in the upcoming versions?
I don't really know if I can talk about that.
No, you need not talk about what's your wish list of sorts.
Wish list, there's a couple of different wish lists I have. Nothing, not really specific to availability groups, but specific to how the product is being improved and developed for the past couple of years. Even the licensing aspect of it, it's very confusing. The documentation aspect of it is confusing, which is a good thing for me because it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for me to try to simplify that, the documentation and educate people about it. But again, from my perspective, in terms of features, there's a lot of different features, and the product is still evolving. We know for a fact that SQL Server now runs on top of Linux. I don't know what the roadmap is in terms of, do we move from like the Windows aspect of it to SQL Server running on Linux and still have it? I don't know. What's next, right? I used to be a Linux guy. I used to be a Unix guy, and I know the capabilities of what Unix can do. But when you start including a lot of these options for mixing and matching technologies. Say, for instance, am I going to be running availability groups on Windows, or am I going to be running availability groups on Linux? Like I said, I don't know. I have no clue. But the next question would be, well, am I going to be running availability groups on a mixed Windows and Linux machine? And then you start incorporating a lot of these complexities, which also means operational complexity.
Complexities again.
And I'm a big fan of keeping things simple.
Yeah.
Because the more complex something is, the more difficult it is to maintain.
Absolutely.
The more expensive it is to maintain.
So the support for SQL on Linux
Yes.
is something that, absolutely. And I like the final line that you gave, keeping things simple.
It's the most difficult thing to do. The most difficult thing to do is to keep things simple.
So that's great. Thanks a lot for joining us on DataChannel. It was wonderful talking to you.
It's
Thanks
always,
for-
it's a pleasure. I really appreciate the fact that you ask these questions because, again, most people think the new, the latest, the shiny features are always, something they would like to maybe try to test it out. And my approach to that has always been, don't do something just because. Always make sure that it is actually solving a business problem.
Absolutely. Lots of lines of wisdom from Mr. Edwin. Thanks a lot again. Thanks a lot.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Martin, who has been handling this camera, Martin Kethral, MVP from Australia, New Zealand. Special thanks to him too.